Governor Gavin Newsom held his first press conference since the re-election of Donald Trump. He held that event in Fresno to explain what his administration is doing to address jobs and the economy here in California.
Yeah, obviously a top issue for voters this year that swayed many to support President-elect Donald Trump, even here in California. KCRA 3 Capitol correspondent Ashley Zavala is in Fresno explaining the governor's latest effort today.
We're in Fresno, which is one of several counties in California that flipped from blue to red in this election. The governor making a series of stops like this one in areas that support the president-elect in an attempt to acknowledge voter concerns.
We just invested $14 million for
focusing on jobs and the economy. Governor Gavin Newsom spent Thursday in Fresno touring this facility that helps train people for the workforce. Facilities like this, part of his economic plan that would funnel millions of dollars in regions like this one with the goal of ramping up jobs and economic opportunities.
It's not talking about the economy, it's talking about people. It's not talking about the macro economic conditions, it's talking about the micro lived reality of people in regions like yours.
The governor's stop coming 2 weeks after calling for a special legislative session to prepare for legal battles with the Trump administration. This in an area that went from supporting President Joe Biden in 2020 to voting for Donald Trump. I asked the governor if he's spoken to the president-elect yet.
Governor, on your podcast, you said that you tried to reach out to the president. You noted your good relationship with him during the pandemic. I mean, have you spoken to him? Has he still not? I mean, would you have called the special legislative session had you been able to get through to him sooner?
Well, let me repeat what I said, because I thought it was really important what I said. And I honestly, I think it's really important. And I appreciate you recognizing not only what I said on my podcast, Politicking, but what we experienced with Donald Trump. We were working very collaboratively with Donald Trump. I was on the phone with him consistently. Late night, early morning, getting along, and he was assaulting and attacking this state, taking money from the people of the state of California, rolling back all kinds of laws in the state, of trying to roll back waivers, trying to exercise his control and preemption. He asserted lawsuit after lawsuit and assault after assault. So of course, regardless of whether or not we had a big hug at Mar-a-Lago or not, we need to prepare for that reality. You're wise enough to know that. You recognize where this state was, not just with the Newsom administration, but the Brown administration. So
but do you think that resonates with voters in this area and these areas that voted for him, that supported him?
It's not about voters. I care about people. I don't care who you voted for. I care about people. I care about Trump supporters. I care about RFK Jr. supporters. I care about Tucker Carlson supporters. I care about Charlie Kirk supporters. I care about Ben Shapiro supporters. I care about all people. I care about the people living here in the Sierra, folks down in San Diego where I just was, or in my backyard in Fair Oaks, California. I care about people. And I care about protecting them, their public safety, and their public health. And there may be a lot more Trump supporters here, but that doesn't matter. I'm going to still have their backs because they need us to have their back, not turn their back on them.
So from here, the governor is still scheduling those other stops, which we know are expected to include Colusa and Kern counties within the coming days or weeks. Reporting in Fresno, Ashley Zavala, KCRA 3 News.